Hello everyone, welcome back. We are still in Chapter 11, Multi-Step Equations and Inequalities, and Lesson 2, Solving Multi-Step Equations. So this is the guided practice. So I want you to go ahead and try to work out problems 1 and 2. When you get done, remember you have to work it out and check your answer, write the original equation. So when you get done with 1 and 2, go ahead and pause. When you get done with 1 and 2, go ahead and press play and we'll see how you did. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did for problem number 1. Now 1 is split into two sides of the equation. We have this side over here and this side over here. We're looking to combine like terms. So there is a 12n on this side and a negative 3n on this side of the equation. So we can combine those two terms. So we can basically just think about it as 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. 9n minus 7. We bring that down. And now we have our two-step equation. We're trying to get n by itself. We know we have to hold off on this 9n till the very end. So we're getting rid of this negative 7. That's our first step. The inverse of a negative 7 would be a positive 7. So we're going to plus 7 to both sides. That cancels. We're left with 9n equals 11 plus 7 is 18. We're trying to get n by itself. We have 9n, which is 9 times n. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. We're going to divide both sides by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 1 times n is n. Now n is by itself. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So our answer is n equals 2. Now we're going to go ahead and check our answer. So we're going to write the original equation, 12n minus 7 minus 3n equals 11. And we're going to substitute n into two different places. There's an n there and an n there, and that's where we're going to put the 2. So we have 12 times 2, because that's what 12n means, 12 times n, 12 times 2. We're substituting 2n for n. Minus 7 minus 3 times 2. Instead of the n, we're substituting in the 2. Okay, order of operations says we have to do the multiplication first. So 12 times 2 is 24 minus 7. And then we have a multiplication here. We have a negative 3 times 2. I'm going to do the signs first. A negative times a positive is going to be a negative. 3 times 2 is 6 equals 11. And now I'm just going to work this left to right because we just have subtraction here. So 24 minus 7, I'm going to take that to the side. 24 minus 7 right here. The 4 is not big enough, so I need to borrow from this 2. Makes that a 1, makes that a 1. 14 minus 7 is 7. Drop that 1 down and we have 17. So 24 minus 7 is 17. Minus 6 equals 11. And then 17 minus 6... 7 minus 6 is 1. Drop that 1 down is 11. So we have a true statement, which means our answer, n equals 2, is correct. That's the solution to the original equation right there. Okay, so if you got that right, great job. Let's go ahead and move on to problem number 2. Let's see how you did on that one. Now, this equation sign divides it into two sides. We have the left side and the right side of the equation. We are trying to see, are there any like terms on the same side? And what I see is we have a 3a and we have a 4a. So we can combine those. 3a plus 4a is actually equal to 7a. So we have 7a plus 2 equals 23. And now we have our two-step. We're trying to figure out what a is. We need to isolate it, get it by itself. But in order to do that, we have to keep this until the very end, which means we're getting rid of this positive 2 first, and we're doing that through its inverse operation, which would be subtracting 2 to both sides. Positive 2, negative 2 cancel. We're left with 7a equals 23 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. We drop down the 2, so it's 21. Okay, we're still trying to get a by itself. It's better, but not good enough. We have to get rid of that 7. 7a is 7 times a. The inverse operation of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide both sides by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times a is a, equals 21 divided by 7 is 3. So we have a equals 3. So now we're going to check our answer. I'm going to write the word check. Okay, I'm going to rewrite the original equation. 3a plus 2 plus 4a equals 23. Okay, I'm going to substitute 3 in for a. And what I notice is that there's an a located in two different places right there. So I'm going to substitute 3 in 2 times. So we're going to go 3 instead of a, I'm writing times 2 plus 4 times, instead of a, I'm writing 3 equals 23. Order of operations says I have to do the multiplication first. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2, and then I can do this multiplication. A positive times a positive is going to be a positive. 4 times 3 is 12 equals 23. And then we just have addition, so we're going to do it left to right. So 6 plus 2 is 8 plus 12 equals 23. Well, something is not right here. Oh, that's what's wrong. This a is supposed to be a 3. I'm supposed to substitute a 3. You probably were yelling like, what are you doing? Okay, so 3 is substituted in for a. 3 goes in for a here. 3 goes in for a. For some reason, I put a 2 there. So this should be 3 times 3, which is not 6. It's 9. Okay, so then 9 plus 2 would be 11. So it should be 11 plus 12. And 11 plus 12 is 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 plus 1 is 2, which is 23. Equals 23. So that is a true statement. I'm sorry for the mess up. I'm not perfect. I do stuff wrong too. So we fixed it. So you just need to make sure you write the solution in. 3 here and 3 here. So this is the solution to the original equation. Woohoo, right there. Okay, on to 3 and 4. So I want you to try to do 3 and 4 on your own. Go ahead and press pause and make sure you do the checks and write the original equation. And we will see you in a bit. See you in a bit. When you get done, press play and see how you did. Okay, we are back. The equal sign splits the equation into 2 sides. We have this side of the equation and this side of the equation right over here. And so you should see there's parentheses. That means that we have to distribute the 4 to both things in the parentheses. So 4 times y is going to be 4y. 4 times a positive 5 is going to be a positive 20. And then we just go plus 3. Equals 35. Now we're looking at this and we're saying, hey, are there any like terms? And what I see is that there's a positive 20 here and there's a positive 3. There's 2 numbers and we can combine those. So this can turn into being 4y, and 20 plus 3 is 23. It's a positive 23. So plus 23 equals 35. All right, cool. So now we have our 2-step. We're trying to figure out what y is. We know that we have to save this 4y to the very end. So we have to get rid of the positive 23, which the inverse operation of plus 23 would be subtracted by 23 to both sides. That cancels. We're left with 4y equals 5 minus 3 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1, so it's 12. And we are trying to get y by itself. So we have 4y, 4 times y. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we're dividing both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times y is y equals 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. So we have our answer right there. Y equals 3. So let's go ahead and check it. We're going to write the original equation. 4 multiplied by the quantity y plus 5 plus 3 equals 35. Okay, then we're sticking 3 in for y. So we have 4 times 3 plus 5 plus 3 equals 35. Okay, order of operations states we have to simplify this side of the equation. And order of operations states we have to do the parentheses first. So it's going to be 4 times, what is 3 plus 5? It's 8. So 4 times 8 plus 3 equals 35. Cool. Now order of operations says we have to do the multiplication before we do the addition. So 4 times 8 is actually equal to 32 plus 3 equals 35. And then we do the addition. 32 plus 3 is actually equal to 35. So this is a true statement, which means y equals 3 is the solution to the original equation. Woohoo! You got that right? Great job. 2 thumbs up. Okay, on to problem number 4. Let's see how you did, okay? So the equal sign splits this equation into 2 different sides. We have one side here, and we have another side over here. Okay, you should also see that there are parentheses, so we have to do the distributive property. So we're going to go 2 times h, and then we're going to go 2 times a negative 6. So 2 times h is just 2h, and 2 times a negative 6, a positive, let's do the signs first. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 6 is 12. And then I just rewrite this plus 20. Equals negative 4. Nothing really to simplify on this side of the equation. It's already just one number and it's there by itself. All right, cool. Let's see. On this side of the equation, is there anything we can simplify? Are there any like terms? What I see is that there is a negative 12 and there is a positive 20. Those are both numbers. We can simplify those. So this is a negative, this is a positive, so the signs are different. You take the difference. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take the difference between 20 and 12. So the 0 isn't big enough. I need to borrow from the 2, making that a 1. And there we go. We got 10 take away 2, which is 8, and then 1 take away 1, which is 0. So it's a positive. Oh, it's 8, right? And then we look at the two numbers. Is it going to be positive or negative? Which number's bigger? 12, 20, 12, 20, 12, 20. 20 is bigger, 20 is positive, so our answer is going to be positive. And then I just drop down this 2h. So we have 2h plus 8 equals negative 4. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what h is. I need to get h by itself. We have our two-step equation here. I'm going to keep this together till the very, very end. So I'm going to get rid of the positive 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 to both sides. Okay, that cancels out. My 2h drops down. I have a negative 4 minus 8. This is a negative. This is a negative. They're both negative. That means we add the numbers and keep the negative. So our answer is going to be negative. And what's 4 plus 8? It's 12. So there we go. We're still trying to figure out what h is. It needs to be by itself. Not quite yet, but almost. We have 2h, which is 2 times h. The inverse operation of multiplication would be division. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times h is h. We have h equals. And then we do this here. I'm going to do the signs first. We have a negative divided by a positive. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 12 divided by 2 is actually ends up being 6. So our answer is h equals negative 6. Okay, if you got that right, great job. But we're not done. We have to check it. So let's check it. Write the word check. Write the original equation. 2 times the quantity h minus 6 plus 20 equals negative 4. I'm going to make sure that I wrote it down correctly. Okay, and then we're just going to substitute negative 6 in for h because that's what h equals. So 2 times, instead of writing h, I'm going to write negative 6 minus 6 plus 20 equals negative 4. Okay, now I need to simplify the things on this side of the equation. Okay. Or this, yeah, that side. And so I have to do parentheses. So it's going to be 2 times, I have negative 6 minus 6. So this is a negative, and this is a negative. So what we're supposed to do is keep the sign and add the numbers. So 6 plus 6 is 12. So it's going to be negative 12. So negative 6 minus 6 is actually equal to negative 12. Plus 20 equals negative 4. And then we're going to do this because the order of operations says we have to do the multiplication before we do the addition. So 12 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2 is 24. I usually do the signs first. I should have done the signs first. This is a positive times a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 12 is 24. So there we go. And then we add the 20 here equals negative 4. Perfect. And then we just do this. So we have a negative 24 plus 20. This is a negative. This is a positive. The signs are different. You take the difference. So we're going to take the difference between 24 and 20. So 24 minus 20, you always put the bigger number on top when you're just looking at the numbers and not the signs. 4 take away 0 is 4. 2 take away 2 is 0. So the difference between these two numbers is 4. Now I need to figure out, is it the answer a positive 4 or a negative 4? So I look at 24, I look at 20. Which number is bigger? 24 is bigger, 24 is negative, so the answer is negative 4 equals negative 4. And that is a true statement. So if you got that right, great job. That means that our solution, h equals negative 6, is the solution to the original equation. So good job. All right, woohoo. Okay. on to the next thing. Flip the page. And we have 5, 6, and 7. So I want you to go ahead and try these problems. I want you to solve them, check your answers, write the original equation. Okay, so go ahead and pause. When you get done with those two, press play, and we'll see how you did. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, here we go. We are doing these equations, number 5. Let's see how you did. We have two sides of the equation. This is one side, and this is the other side. Okay, right here, we want to see if there's any like terms. And what I'm seeing is we have an x, and we have a 2x. So those are like terms on the same side of the equation, so we can just go ahead and add those together. So x plus 2x is actually equal to 3x. And then we just rewrite that plus 6 equals 15, okay? Now we're trying to isolate x, get it by itself, but we know we have to keep this 3x together until the very end. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of that positive 6, and we're going to do the inverse operation of a positive 6, which would be a negative 6 to both sides. So that positive 6 and negative 6, it cancels out, and it leaves us with 3x on this side of the equation, which is exactly what we want. Then 15 minus 6 is actually equal to 9. We're still trying to get x by itself. It's not quite by itself. We have 3x, which is the same thing as 3 times x. And we have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division, dividing both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times x is x. And then 9 divided by 3 is 3. So our answer is x equals 3. But we're not done. We need to check it. So we're going to rewrite the original equation. X plus 6 plus 2x equals 15, and we need to put 3 in here for x and here for x. Now I messed up on this a little bit ago, so I got to make sure I really do it correctly. So 3 is going in here for x, so I'm going to write 3 plus 6 plus 2 times 3 equals 15. Okay, cool. We have to do this side of the equation and do the order of operations. So I have addition, I have multiplication. So I have to do the multiplication first. So I have 2 times 3, which is 6. And then after that, I just have nothing but addition, so I can just go left to right. So 3 plus 6 is 9. And then 9 plus 6 is 15. So that's a true statement, which means our answer, x equals 3, is the solution to the original equation. All right, cool. Let's see if you got that right. Great job. Let's see how you did on problem number 6. So two sides. We have this side of the equation, and we have this side of the equation. So we're looking to see if there's anything we can simplify on this side of the equation. And what I see is we have a 10b and a negative 3b. Those are like terms, okay? So we can combine those into one thing. However, we can't combine the 9. The 9 is a number. It's not the same thing as the variable. So 10b minus 3b. So basically, we can think about this as 10 minus 3, which is 7, and then just put a b on the end of it, because 10b minus 3b is 7b. And then add 9 equals 2, and there's nothing to simplify here. That's already simplified. Okay, great. Now we have a two-step equation. We're trying to get b by itself. Okay, we have to save this right here, this 7b, until the very, very end. Okay, and so we have to get rid of this positive 9. So we're going to do that by doing the inverse operation, which would be subtracting 9 to both sides. The positive 9 and the negative 9, they cancel each other out. And we're left with 7b equals a positive and a negative. The signs are different, so we need to take the difference. The difference between 9 and 2 is 7, and then we need to figure out, is it a positive 7 or a negative 7? Well, we look at the numbers, 9 and 2. 9 is bigger and 9 is negative, so that means our answer is actually going to be negative. Cool. We're still trying to figure out what b is, and we need to get it by itself. It's not quite by itself. So the 7b is 7 times b. We have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. So we need to divide both sides by whatever number this is, which is 7. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times b is b. Now b is by itself. Woohoo! And then we just need to do this bit right here. I'm going to do the signs first. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So there's our answer. b equals negative 1. But we're not done. We need to check it. Check it, check it, check it, check it, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we go. Write the word check, and now I'm going to rewrite the original problem. 10b plus 9 minus 3b equals 2. Perfect. Okay, so we have B in two different locations. So we need to make sure that we substitute this -1 in for B in both of those locations. And there's a number outside B, so that means we have to put this in parentheses. So 10 times, we're substituting -1 in for B, plus 9 minus 3, we're substituting -1 in for B equals 2. Perfect. So we just have to simplify this. This is order of operations, this side of the equation. We're going to do the multiplication first. So 10 times -1. I'm going to do the signs. A positive times a negative is a negative. 10 times 1 is 10. Plus 9. And then here we have a negative times a negative. So a negative times a negative is actually a positive. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So it's positive 3 equals 2. And now we just have addition. So I'm going to go left to right. So -10 plus 9. This is a negative. This is a positive. The signs are different. So we take the difference between 10 and 9, which is 1. And then we look at the numbers. Which one's bigger? 10 is bigger. 10 is negative. So that means it's a -1 plus 3 equals 2. And then here we go again. We have a negative and we have a positive. The signs are different. So we take the difference between 3 and 1, which is 2. And then we got to figure out, is it a positive 2 or a negative 2? So we look at 1, we look at 3, which number is bigger? 3 is bigger, 3 is positive. That means our 2 is positive. But we don't need to write positive 2. It's understood that just 2 is a positive 2. So we have 2 equals 2, which is a true statement, which means our answer right here is the solution to the original equation. If you got that right, great job. Okay, on to problem number 7 here. Let's see how you did on this one. Remember the equal sign? It divides the equation into two different sides. We have this side, and then we have this side over here. Okay? So on this side of the equation, we're trying to see if there's any like terms. And I see that there is a 5n here and a positive 3n. So those are the like terms that we can combine. So 5n plus 3n is, yes, you're right, it's 8n. 5 plus 3 is 8, and just put the n on the back. Minus 2 equals 5. Perfect. So we have our 2-step. We're trying to figure out what n is. We're going to save this little 8n until the very, very end. Okay? And which means we need to get rid of the -2. So we're going to do the inverse of a negative, which would be a positive 2 to both sides. -2 and a positive 2 cancel each other out. We're left with 8n equals 5 plus 2, which is 7. Oh, wow. 5n plus 3n, yeah. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Interesting. Okay, a little bit more complicated. We can do it. No problemo. Okay, we're trying to figure out what n is. So we need to get n by itself. So we're going to have to go, this is 8n, which is 8 times n, which means we have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. We're dividing both sides by 8, and we end up with n equals 7/8. And that's our answer. You can have a fraction that is an answer. That is okay. Now we're going to check it. Okay, so we're going to write the word check. We're going to rewrite the original equation. 5n minus 2 plus 3n equals 5. Okay, and n is in two different locations, right here and right here. So we have to make sure that we put 7/8 in both of those places. So, okay. I know that we're dealing with fractions, and it's okay. Okay, so we did a whole section on fractions, so you can do this, all right? Okay, so we have 5 times 7/8 minus 2 plus 3 times 7/8 equals 5. Okay, perfect. So we have to do the multiplication, but now we're doing multiplication of fractions. So remember, whenever you're multiplying fractions, you look to cross-cancel first. Can we cross-cancel anything between the 5 and 8? No. Or the 1 and 7? No. So we're just going to multiply across. 5 times 7 is 35 over 8 minus 2. And then we're going to do the multiplication here, 3 over 1. So we're going to look to cross-cancel because we're multiplying fractions. Can we cross-cancel anything? No, we can't. So let's just multiply across. 3 times 7 is positive 21 over 1 times 8 is 8. Equals 5. Okay, So now I'm adding and subtracting. I need to get a common denominator. Right now this is a 1, and I need this to be, the common denominator is going to be 8. So I need this 1 to be an 8. So I'm going to multiply the bottom and the top by 8, which is going to make this negative 2 times 8 is going to be negative 16 over 8 plus 21 over 8 equals 5. All right, now we have a common denominator. So all we need to do is just keep that same denominator and add the numerators. So we're subtracting and adding, so we can just go from left to right. So I'm going to go 35 minus 16 first. So 35 minus 16, I need to borrow. So 15 minus 6 is going to be 9. 2 minus 1 is 1. So that means I have 19 eighths, and 35 is a bigger number, it's positive, so yeah, it's going to be a positive 19 over 8 plus 21 over 8 equals 5. All right, so now we have a common denominator, so I just need to add these two numbers, 19 plus 21. So I'm going to go over here, 19 plus 21. 9 plus 1 is 10, so I write the 0, carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that ends up being 40 over 8 equals 5. And drum roll please, 40 divided by 8 is actually 5, which means 5 equals 5. It's a true statement. Oh my gosh, that was so much work. So the answer, n equals 7/8. I know that you were scared. I know that you were afraid, but it's okay because it's a fraction. And n equals 7/8 is the solution to the original equation. If you got that one right, great job. Yokiniki mashita, you're doing awesome. Okay, we're moving on to problems 8, 9, and 10. So go ahead and pause, work those out, do the checks, write the original equation, and then press play and see how you did in a little bit. Okay, we'll see you. All right, we are back doing problem number 8. I'm going to split this into 2 different sides. So this is one side of the equation. This is the other side of the equation here. Okay, I see that there is, what is there? There's parentheses, so we have to do distributive property. We're going to go 6 times W and 6 times negative 8. 6 times W is 6W. 6 times negative 8, a positive times a negative is a negative. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 16 equals 4. So then we're going to say, hey, are there any like terms? And yes, there are. Negative 48 and 16, positive 16. They are like terms. This is a negative and this is a positive. So that means that the signs are different. So we got to take the difference. So we're going to take the difference between 48 and 16. I'm going to put the bigger number on top. So it's going to be 48 minus 16. 8 take away 6 is 2. 4 take away 1 is 3. So I'm just bringing down this 6W. So I know that it's going to be 32, but I got to figure out, is it a positive 32 or is it a negative 32? And I look at the two numbers, 48 and 16. Which number is bigger? 48 is bigger and 48 is negative, so it means my answer is going to be negative. So this is equal to 4. Perfect. Now I just need to isolate this W, get this W by itself, but I know that I have to keep this 6W together until the very end. So that means I must get rid of this negative 32. So I have to do the inverse, which would be adding 32 to both sides of the equation. Negative 32 and a positive 32 cancel out and become 0. I bring the 6W down. And I have 4 plus 32, which is equal to 36. And then I'm trying to get W by itself here. And so that's 6 times W. So I have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times W is W. I'm left with 36 divided by 6, which is actually equal to 6. So W equals 6 is the solution. But let's check it and make sure it's right. I'm going to write the word check. I'm going to rewrite the original equation. 6 times the quantity W minus 8 plus 16 equals 4. I'm going to check it to make sure I wrote down every detail correctly. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to substitute 6 in for W. So I have 6 multiplied by 6 is going in for W. 6 minus 8 plus 16 equals 4. Okay, so I have order of operations I need to do on this side of the equal sign. And I have multiplication, parentheses, and addition. Order of operations says I have to do the parentheses first. So I'm going to rewrite this bit. 6 take away 8. 6 is positive, 8 is negative. The signs are different. That means I need to take the difference between the two numbers. The difference between 8 and 6 is 2. And I look at the two numbers to figure out if it's positive or negative, and I want to know which number is bigger. 8 is bigger, 8 is negative, so it's a negative 2. Plus 16 equals 4. So now I have multiplication, I have addition. Order of operations says I have to do the multiplication first. I'm going to do the signs first. I have a positive times a negative times a negative is a negative, and then the numbers. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 16 equals 4. Now I just need to do this bit right here. I have a negative and a positive. The signs are different, so I got to take the difference. The difference between 16 and 12, 6 take away 2 is 4, 1 take away 1 is 4. Now I just need to figure out, is it a positive 4 or a negative 4? I look at the two numbers. 16's bigger, 16's positive, so it's a positive 4. So 4 equals 4. It's a true statement. Woohoo! That means W equals 6 is the solution to the original equation. All right. Okay, if you got that right, great job. On to problem number 9. So we're going to split it into two different sides. We have one side here of the equation, and I see some parentheses, so I think we're going to have to do some distributive property. And then we have the other side. So let's just get started with that distributive property. We're going to go 2 times z and then 2 times 5. So 2 times z is just 2z. And then 2 times 5 is 10, and it's a positive times a positive, which is a positive. So it's a positive 10, and then plus 4. Okay? So I'm looking on this side of the equation to see if there's any like terms, and I see a 10 and a 4. So they're like terms, so I can combine them. So I'm going to rewrite the 2z. 10 plus 4 is 14, and it's a positive 14, equals negative 12. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what z is. I want to get z by itself. Right now it's definitely not by itself, but I know that I have to keep this 2z together until the very end. Okay, so I need to get rid of the 14. I need to do the inverse operation of addition, because that's how it's related to z, which would be subtraction. So I'm subtracting 14 to both sides. A positive 14 and a negative 14 cancel out and become 0. I'm left with 2z on this side, which is exactly what I want. And then I have a negative 12 minus 14. Well, this is a negative and this is a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative, and I just add those two numbers together. So 2 plus 4 is 6, 1 plus 1 is 2, so I know my answer is going to be a negative 26. Perfect. So now I'm trying to get z by itself. So close. And I have to get rid of that 2. Well, how's the 2 related to z? It's related through multiplication, so I have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. I'm dividing both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times z is z. Now z is by itself. Woohoo! And then I have to go negative 26 divided by 2. I'm going to do the signs first. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 26 divided by 2 is actually equal to, let's see here, 26 divided by 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtracted, that's 2. Take away 2 is 0. Drop down that 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 take away 6 is 0, so 13. So negative 13 would be the answer right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it and make sure that we did it right. So I'm going to write the word check. I'm going to rewrite the original equation right here. 2 multiplied by the quantity z plus 5 plus 4 equals negative 12. Okay, so I'm going to substitute this negative 13 in for this z. So I'm rewriting this. I'm going to go negative 13 right here, plus 5 plus 4 equals negative 12. Perfect. And now I just need to do the order of operations for this bit right here on this side of the equation. I have multiplication, I have parentheses, I have addition. I have to do the parentheses first. So I'm going to rewrite this 2 times. I have negative 13 plus 5. I have a negative and a positive, so the signs are different, so I need to take the difference. The difference between 13 and 5 is actually equal to 8, but I need to figure out if it's a positive 8 or a negative 8. So I look at 13 and 5, which number is bigger? 13's bigger, 13's negative, so my answer is going to be negative. Okay. Then I'm just going to rewrite this stuff here. Equals negative 12. Okay, cool. So now I have 2 times negative 8 plus 4. So I have to do the multiplication by the order of operations. So 2 times negative 8. I'm going to do the signs first. This is a positive times a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 8 is actually equal to 16. So 16 plus 4. Perfecto. And then I need to do this bit. I have a negative and a positive. So the signs are different. You take the difference. So we're going to take the difference between 16 and 4. 6 take away 4 is 2. And then drop that 1. So it's 12. Okay, and then I need to figure out if it's a positive 12 or a negative 12. And so I look at both of the numbers. 16 is bigger, 16 is negative, so my answer is going to be negative. And then I just drop down this negative 12 here, and that is negative 12 equals negative 12, which is a true statement, which means our solution we found up here, z equals negative 13, is the solution to the original equation. Woohoo! Okay, on to the last one, number 10. Let's see how you did. Okay. Remember this equation sign splits the equation into 2 sides. We have one side here, boom, bitty, boom, boom, boom. And we have another side here, boom, 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 boom. Okay. I see some parentheses, so we're going to have to distribute. So we have 1.5 times b, and then 1.5 times a positive 6. Okay, so 1.5 times b is just 1.5b. 1.5 times 6, we know it's going to be positive, but I'm going to go over here to the side and just figure out what 1.5 times 6 is, because I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. So I'm just going to go 1.5 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. I write the 0, carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. And then remember, how many decimal places are there? There's 1 decimal place, so then we just, we need 1 decimal place on our answer, so it's 9.0, or just 9. So 1.5 times 6 is just equal to 9. So we have 9, and then we drop this positive 9 down here. Okay, that was nice. Okay, then we're looking for like terms. Do we have any like terms on this side of the equation? I would say yes. We have a positive 9 and another positive 9. And 9 plus 9 is 18. Okay, so I have 1.5b plus 18 equals 24. Now I'm trying to get b by itself. Okay, and I know that I have to save this little 1.5b till the very, very end. But that means I can get rid of this positive 18 by doing its inverse operation, which would be subtracting by 18 to both sides of the equation. A positive 18 minus 18 is actually equal to 0, which means I'm left with 1.5b equals 24 minus 18. The 4 is not big enough. I need to borrow. So 14 minus 8 would be 6. And then that's 1 minus 1 was 0. Okay, cool. So that equals 6. Yeah, I'm trying to get b by itself. So close, but I need to divide both sides by 1.5. This is 1.5 times b. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I need to divide both sides by 1.5. 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. 1 times b is b. Now b is by itself. Now I just need to do this little bit right here. So I have 6 divided by 1.5. Now remember, whenever you're dividing by decimals, you have to remember you can never divide by decimals. So you have to get rid of the decimals. So you move this over one place, which means you have to move this over one place and you add a 0. So really what I'm doing is I'm doing 60 divided by 15. So how many times is 15? Can 15 go into 6? No, it can't. How many times can it go into 60? Well, how many times would that be? 15 and 15 is 30, and then another, so that would be 2 times. Another one would be 45, and then another one would be 60. So it goes in 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 60. So yeah, 6 divided by 1.5 is actually equal to 4. Okay, so let's check it and make sure that it's right. So we're going to write the word check. And then we're going to write the original equation, 1.5 multiplied by the quantity b plus 6 plus 9 equals 24. So I'm substituting 4 in for B right here. Okay, 1.5, putting the 4 in here, so 4 plus 6 plus 9 equals 24. And I have to simplify this side of the equation using the order of operations. So I have to do the parentheses first, which would be 1.5 times 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 9 equals 24. And so we have to do the multiplication. This is really nice. Whenever you multiply by 10, you can just multiply, you just move the decimal place over one place. So 1.5 times 10 is actually equal to 15, plus 9 equals 24. And then 15 plus 9, 9 plus 5 is 4, 14, carry the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So 24 equals 24. That is a true statement, which means our answer, B equals 4, is the solution to the original equation. If you got that right, woohoo, good job. You did an amazing job. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.